it's currently 7:30 in the morning on a mighty Thursday, so it's upper body day. You may have noticed that Tuesday didn't have any release. Oops! It's not necessarily an oops. That's more so because, so at some point, either during my last upper body day or beforehand, and I just didn't notice it, I had strained a muscle around here, and it hurt it and bruised it or something. It's like wrapped around from my rib all the way to my back. It's just sore, and it's sore to the point where it hurts to breathe, or it was hurting to breathe. Obviously, eventually, I kind of got over it a little bit in the aspect that I just started to feel better, and I was like, okay, well, let me go do a leg day. I went to the gym to go do a leg day, and instead of being able to do a leg day, I had to stop. The first thing I did was leg press. Now, albeit, I will say, I was very foolish in my actions. Despite having an injury that affects my breathing, I decided that was the day to attempt a 923-pound leg press PR, which I managed to do, and I do have footage of it. I managed to do it, but beyond that, I was only able to get a couple of leg presses because I had them at such high volume. And leg presses comes down to almost what feels like a squat, so it kind of comes down to a nice range of motion, but it kind of comes down and hits or makes me push my chest in this area to the point where it really, really, really hurt. And I was having a harder time breathing. I tried to go do leg extensions after that. I just couldn't do it. The breathing just wasn't there. I was feeling lightheaded and dizzy as a result of me overworking a muscle that is involved in my diaphragm. Especially a muscle that is as important as that one when it comes to getting that full range of air, being asthmatic. So I had to leave the gym early, which I always feel bad about missing the gym. I've always feel bad about not being able to finish what I wanted to do in the gym. So that was no good. The other thing was yesterday. I mean, obviously, yesterday was more of a recovery day just entirely because, all my muscles from my upper body day were still recovering. And then this muscle right here is still kind of recovering. I feel like if I push it, it will definitely hurt. I am a little worried about getting any kind of back workouts in today because of it. But we're going to see how it goes. I might have to just kind of go light today. There's no sense in making this much worse than it needs to be. I was recovering yesterday. I was recovering from all my muscle soreness from upper body day, and I also had a doctor's appointment in the morning. And as far as my schedule is concerned, the morning is really where I could shove a workout, and typically Wednesdays are my rest days. So that's why the doctor's appointment ended up on a Wednesday. However, I couldn't have foreseen any kind of shenanigans occurring with my lower right rib. Like that. Excuse me. That general area, the lower right rib, just kind of consistently feels not good. So, much to my chagrin, I couldn't grin and bear it, without getting into some, without passing out. I felt like so. I had to leave early. And I was not, like I said, I was not very happy about that at all. But that's okay. When it comes to injuries and stuff like that, one of the things is you have to know you can't really push yourself in the gym depending on the injury. Especially if it's like a universal injury like that, where it's a muscle that's going to be used in just about everything, right? Because it's not a specific said about the tenacity and the veracity of the kinds of people that drive Dodge Ram pickups. And everything that can be said, none of it's good. I'll tell you that right now. None of it's good. You buy a Dodge Ram pickup, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Go sell it. Go sell a Dodge Ram pickup and get, I don't know, something cooler. Go get a slingshot. Anyway, yes, it's very important to be aware of what can and cannot hinder your exercises. Because I wasn't acutely aware that, and I should have been aware. I feel like a dummy for not kind of putting two and two together. That doing something as intensive as a leg press, especially a new PR for a leg press, would result in nothing good. Yeah. So, but yeah, hopefully, hopefully, I'll be able to get some work today in the gym, as far as what I want to do. I want to be able to do my chest, which my chest feels fine. It is the tiniest bit sore, just a little bit, nothing crazy. I want to be able to push my chest a little bit, do my biceps, do my triceps, my forearms, my back, my shoulders, my front, middle, and rear, my front side and rear delts. I'm hoping to get all these muscles in. But for my back, I might have to do a lighter load. And who knows? I might have to do a lighter load for everything. It just depends. So I'll figure it out when I get there. But I definitely want to go and find out exactly what I can do. So anyway, I'll be seeing you guys at the gym. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. So just got to the gym. I'm on the isolateral wide pull down machine. It was already loaded with 245s and 235. So what is that? 80 pounds on each side. So I just hopped on it, and I did one set, and that set felt great. So I'm gonna keep going and see how it's gonna go, and then we're gonna hit the isolateral chest machine. So yeah, let's go ahead and get on this thing, shall we?
Unstable situation on the ground that is unfolding very quickly.
Move toward more ideas that will actually help bring this thing to an end.
The rows felt fine. It didn't really hit the spot that was hurting. I'm worried that the isolateral wide chest machine, Will. But, you know, regardless, for now, we are loaded with 45 and 10s on each side, so 55 pounds on each side, plus the 2-pound starting resistance, which is hardly worth mentioning, but it's really 57 pounds on each side, so about 112 pounds, 114 pounds. So yeah, let's try to do this. Last time I did this machine, I was only able to get 5 sets of 10 squeezed down on this thing, and it gave me a proper burn in my front delts and chest. I think I talked about that in my last upper body day. But anyway, let me set up my camera and we can get started, shall we? Let's go. Just finished up the isolateral wide chest. Moving on to just standard dumbbell curls. I guess these are more like concentration curls, as I discovered last time, because I've been doing my concentration curls incorrectly. I've been doing my concentration curls like typical dumbbell curls should be done, and now I'm going to be trying to just do these types of concentration curls. Right now I got a 30-pound, and hopefully be able to get 6 sets of 10 on it, and then drop down to a 25, and that should effectively work my biceps. If it doesn't do what it should do as far as getting it to failure, then a little later I'll go to the preacher or a bicep curl machine and just try to cap it off. So yeah, and in between, as per usual, just doing forearm curls or wrist flexions. So let's get this started. managed to get the full 10 sets of 10 reps at 30 pounds for my dumbbell curls. Very happy about that. Going to be moving on to rear delt flies. Won't record that. Going to be doing 20 on each arm, so 40 in total. 10 sets of 10. Hopefully able to get through that. We'll see if it's easier, because 17 and a half felt a little easy last time, but we'll see. We'll see. So let's get going. The rear delt flies are taken care of. Managed to do the whole 10 sets of 10 at 20 pounds. I feel like I can go a little higher next time, just to kind of get a better, work to failure, because I was starting to feel it to the end, but I think I could feel it more if I had the 25s. But anyway, we're moving on tricep extensions, 45 pounds. And last time we were only able to do, I think, 6 sets of 10, 7 sets of 10. Hopefully we'll be able to do the full thing. But yeah, let's get right to the tricep extensions. Managed to do all 10 sets of 10 reps at 45 pounds with the tricep extensions. Pretty happy about that. Gonna be moving on to the shoulder shrugs. 10 sets of 10 as per usual. And we're doing them pairs of 10. We're gonna record 6 just because that's been kind of the norm, between 5 and 6 reps I've been recording, for the sake of keeping my tripod kind of out of the way for people, and for the sake of keeping the video a bit shorter, because these videos have been getting kind of long. But I recognize the fact that most of the longness comes from me rambling on at the beginning, the end, and in between all my workouts. So anyway, let's get right to it. legs went as well as I expected. Now we're moving on to lateral shoulder raises. Could be increasing the weight to 20 pounds on each arm, so 40 in total. I'll try to do 10 sets of 10 at that, because I was able to do 10 sets of 17.5 pounds last week. And I'm sorry, last Monday. So we're gonna try to do 10 sets of 10 today at 20 pounds. So let's go ahead and try to see if we can't bust these lateral raises out. As per usual, just gonna record 5 sets of them and then tell you the results later. So let's get moving. Got through all 10 sets of 10 at 20 pounds each on each arm, so that's also a good thing. With my lateral shoulder raises, my shoulders were pretty much fucking crying by the time I was finished. It was rough, having to push through I did them in pairs of 2, so every last pair I was like pushing through the last like 3-4 reps. And then now we have reverse curls and wrist flexions at the same weight, 20 pounds. Maybe next week I'll increase them to 25, see how that works. Might be a little too much, I'm not sure. But yeah, let's go ahead and get these 2 exercises done and dusted. finished my wrist flexions, over forearm curls, and reverse curls. Had to wait just a minute for the cable row machine. Excuse me. And maxed up my biceps on the preacher curl cable machine. So we'll be moving on to the rows, cable rows. This will be at 120 pounds. Going to probably have to drop down to 100 just to max out my back at that point. Let's see how that goes. Let's get it started. 10 sets to 10 as per usual. Just got finished with the gym. Just got my shower, and I'm feeling great today. Usually I feel really nice after the gym, and I just saw the world's ugliest Chevrolet. I think it's the new Volt. Those things are fucking hideous. I love the color. Some of them come in. God, this car is ugly. Anyway, but usually I feel amazing coming out of the gym. There's hardly ever a time where I don't feel really nice or really good or whatever. I feel especially good because I did miss. I essentially had missed Tuesday's leg day, which was no good. You know, that was no good having missed that day, at least for me. I feel, you know, it made me feel like complete shit having missed that day. Especially a day as important as leg day. I know the whole meme is, you know, we go to do a leg day and we come out with the nastiest chest pump or whatever. But on a serious note, you know, doing legs are a very important thing to do. There is a woman dressed as Wednesday Addams. I don't know if that is a costume or if she is wearing that on purpose. But, you know, go off, sis. You know, go ahead, rock that Wednesday Addams fit. I know I couldn't. Anyway, but leg day is the most anabolic thing, as they say, most anabolic thing you can do without being on steroids. It really is just like it produces testosterone. Not to mention, unless your ideal physique is fucking Johnny Bravo, ideally you want to do legs. And for me, like, my legs are my strongest part of my body. Like, that's why I'm so comfortable about posting the weights I'm doing on that, like, more, or like highlighting the weights and like attempting new PRs with my legs, because I got tree trunk legs. Quite plain and simple, I got tree trunk legs. I mean, come on. You don't get to be able to, you know, hit a PR of 923 pounds with a leg press without having some form of a very strong set of legs. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, a weight like that is something that, like, someone like Chris Bumstead is going to be fucking repping for days. But as a beginner, right, it's very nice to be able to get to that level, right? Get to that level, because I see a lot of these, I see a lot of people like Brian Shaw and, well, I think it's mostly Brian Shaw and Chris Bumstead and whatnot that I'm seeing pushing these insane amounts of weight on this. I'm sure there's other fitness creators, but I just haven't seen their videos, or at the very least, it's not popping into my head. But yeah, leg day, very important day for me, and for any man, really. You know, you don't, like, most people should want to have a very symmetrical, subjective, kind of a uniform physique. You know, if you're gonna have a huge upper body, you know, brother, you gotta have a really nice and big set of legs to back it up. You know, there's just one of those things where, and especially if you're going natty, you know, you're not doing any, if you're going natty and you're not doing any like substances of any kind to help you boost your test or just completely replace it, you should be doing leg day, because as I said, it increases testosterone. It's only a net benefit. I mean, leg day, hey, don't get me wrong, leg day can suck sometimes. Like when you're pushing those legs, you crawl out the gym sometimes, and then especially the next day, it's over. You know, you're paraplegic the next day. You're fucking done. But it's important. So, on the back of me talking about how I feel, I wanted to bring up, while I was in the shower, I was thinking about it, and that's usually where I get my end of video discussions. I was thinking about it, and I brought it up briefly before, but, you know, when you're doing the gym, and you're going to it, you know, don't just go to the gym, right? We don't want to just go to the gym. We want to go to the Iron Temple, all right? We want to work our body and mind. And like I said, I've spoken about this briefly before, or to some extent, but I wanted to really iterate how important it is for your mental health to be as important as your physical health, okay? You know, smashing sets, going in there and fucking just mauling those machines, mauling those free weights, you know, mogging all those people in there, you know, going in there being a beast, or going in there to train yourself to be a beast in training. You have two wolves inside of you. One's a beast, and the other's a beast in training, right? While you're in there doing that, you know, that's great, but what about when you come out? How are you feeling when you come out, right? That's a very important thing, and especially for us guys. Men's mental health is one of those things where it's just like, it's very neglected. It's very, like, nobody wants to hear it, quite frankly. And it's just one of those things where you should, at the very least, try to get some kind of like therapy in it. First, you want to, as I've spoken before, therapy's not a fucking cure. Therapy is only there for people who want the help. And when you get to a point where you want that help and you want to change and you want to make things better for yourself, go to therapy. But you have to get to that point of wanting to first. This is very pertinent for people who have dealt with various traumas in their past. Maybe loved ones passing, right? Maybe you're an older fellow and you were in war, right? And you have PTSD now. Maybe you were born in a horrible environment and there was just abuse rampant and the craziest shit this side of the fucking Andromeda that anyone can imagine. You know, maybe you grew up dealing with being sexually abused. You know, mentally, physically, emotionally, or sexually, any of those types of abuse, you should, by all means, not just try to thug it out, okay? As much as we like to joke about thugging it out, the reason, and don't get me wrong, this isn't like an instance where it's just like, where you just being a fucking pussy. You just fucking, hey, just bottle it up, you fucking pussy. Ordinarily, that would be the dialogue option to choose. However, when you are bottling this stuff up, it starts to rear its head in other territories. Okay? And what I mean is, you know, if you are an abuse victim, for example, and I'm not an expert, I've just seen stuff, I've just read stuff, and I've known people who've talked to me about this, so I'm really just aping off of the points that people who know more about this subject have told me. A lot of people who have dealt with abuse in their life will end up if they don't actually get help and try to fix their issues, will end up in two camps, okay? They are going to either end up as an abuser themselves, right? Or they're going to end up as someone who seeks abusive people subconsciously, and they end up in really bad relationships. And even if they do find someone who isn't an abuser, typically what ends up happening is they self-destruct the relationship. Because it's kind of one of those things where you end up in a healthy relationship, you have no clue what the fuck you're doing, because every other relationship you've been in has been unhealthy. And as a result of that, it ends up blowing up at your own fault, right? So it's one of those things where, thugging it out is cool and all, but there's just some things that, will wear down your it is what it is, You only have an X amount of them, and they will run out. And depending on how big the problem is, or the big the thing is, you may need to use multiple it is what it is, passes on that one, and you may run out very fucking quick. And like I said, all it's going to do is it's going to affect your interpersonal relationships, whether it be with your friends, your family, or your significant others, your partners, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your they, them friends, whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is, not getting help is just going to hurt you, okay? And especially if you're at the point of having really bad thoughts, anything involving harming yourself, or even further, at that point you do need to get some kind of help, right? It's just one of those things where it's super hard to admit, and a lot of times the people around you may not notice. They may not notice how it is, because a lot of people are good at masking it. And then also, when you aren't spending as much time with these people, they aren't able to see the nuances and the changes in your behavior to be able to indicate something is awry. So, get the help you need. I get it. You're a man. You should thug it out. But let's be honest with ourselves for a second. You are a human being. You can only take so fucking much. And some things just aren't worth trying to thug it out, because it may end up with you not thugging it out, and you may end up, dead, right? It's just one of those things where it's not something you want to play with. Because like I said, just as it is important to work on your physical health, your mental health is just as important, okay? If not more important, right? You need to work on this stuff because it affects every aspect of your life. It's going to affect everything. Your job, your gains, your relationships, romantic or otherwise. It affects everything. And it affects the people you care about too. Not just yourself. Especially if you're like married and you're a father or things of that sort. If you're a father, you need to really work on your mental health if you're finding it to be declining, okay? Like I said, as a man, it's one of those things where we just want to thug it out, man. We just want to thug it out. We don't want to admit that we're weak. We don't want to admit that something's able to get to us. We don't want to admit those things because it's humiliating. Right? It's very humiliating. At least that's how most of us feel. Some of us have grown past that, but a lot of people still feel that it's very humiliating to admit that they felt something when a loved one passed away. That they felt something when they lost someone in a way that, they lost someone because of how they acted. It's hard for us to admit that. And it's humiliating, and sometimes we feel pathetic admitting that. We want to be strong, right? But an only way to get strong is by acknowledging your own weakness and working on your weaknesses and doing everything you can to get yourself in a better position mentally. You got to think about it. You know, just like with mental health and mental fortitude. Think about going to the gym, right? When you first started going to the gym, the odds were you weren't just immediately going to the bench press and loading up 225 on that thing and smashing it for weights or reps, right? You weren't. You had to build up to that. You weren't going to the squat rack repping 500 pounds on a squat right from the rip. You had to work towards that. Or any weight that you're currently at, you had to work on it. The point is, you had to get there. You had to try a weight, and then you had to acknowledge your own weakness and your own inability, because your body just will not let you do it. Your body cannot let you do it. And your body cannot do it at that time. So you were forced to acknowledge your own weakness, and then you had to work on it. But with the mind, it's a bit different. We're not forced to acknowledge our own weakness a lot of the times. A lot of the times we could blind ourselves and just think that we're capable of just progressing without any kind of like help mentally, or just like any kind of therapy or any of that stuff, right? And as a result, you end up being a weaker person, right? And I'm not even saying you need to go to therapy necessarily, but you need to grieve about things properly. You need to acknowledge things properly and work on it correctly, right? That right there will make you into a stronger person. It'll make your will that much more strong. You got to think about it. You know, for us people who like, you know, anime and stuff like that, you know, most of the main characters, you know, they try to push themselves beyond the limits of what they're capable, and they're forced to acknowledge their weaknesses, whether it be strength-wise or ideologically. You know, and Berserk. You know, how many times has Guts had to face his own weakness? How many times has Guts had to go through this horrendous stuff and try to overcome it? Guts just wasn't thugging it out. Guts had to go through it, and like, you know, he thugged it out for a while, and like the scene where he and Casca actually started, like, you know, having sex, and they like actually embraced each other. I mean, think about it. Think about the PTSD that man had. You know, like, what these types of things, if you are into this stuff, or like any other media, or like maybe you've heard stories about it, let that stuff be a lesson that you should definitely try to work on yourself mentally. And it's not less masculine to work on yourself mentally. You're not gay, you're not a pussy, you're not this, that, or the other you may think of yourself as. You're just a man who wants to make yourself stronger. And you can't become stronger without acknowledging your own weakness. Okay? And a lot of people go through a lot of different things, and a lot of different things require a lot of different times to get over, right? Some things are easy, and they're not going to take a whole lot of time to get yourself in a position where you're not as bothered by it anymore. Some other things could take years of work, right? But any good thing, anything that's good, isn't going to happen right away. Whether it be building a physique, building your wealth, building a business, you know, working on a project, or anything of that sort. Any of that stuff, it all takes time. And so would your mental health, right? And if it does take longer than you would like, that's okay. You know, don't let that be a discouragement for you. You go at it at your own pace. Don't let nobody tell you you should be here, because you know where you should be. You know where you should be. Right now, where you are at is where you should be. Right? It's where you should be. Even if you've gotten off track a couple of times.